In terms of strategy and power, we are far behind. But in the face of absolute power is not worth mentioning. Not the royal family. There are billions of us. The king and his people were shouted at. It's scary. Billionaire? If you meet a fake, call him your sister Ra, something that can only be borrowed forever. Flying from nowhere to stomp your feet in the face like no other. Makes you spit out a mouthful of saliva. If you have the courage to fight back. Is it worth this kind of dress? He also landed on the ground sneezing loudly. The king was beaten a few times to the ground. You with your face full of scratches wailing. Years go by like that, and the male is still so rude. Electric ancestors do not teach rituals for billions, as there is no woman like a male. The dead man turned his face away. I don't care what you say. Remember this mountain. There are other mountains higher. Big families are not stupid. But only based on the nature of the ancient reincarnation. God, the CA field cannot be overpowered. The old lady also hurriedly bowed her head to the lady. The king stood up. Massage his swollen red cheeks that uttered his. She interrupted the answer. I discovered him a long time ago. He has a clever trick. Moreover, we are also useless. I don't even see how deep it is. The little girl looked at you and said, but unfortunately, I heard that the old school has a marriage contract. Otherwise, he is worthy of the lady. The smiling hand replied, then it's a pity for him to miss an elite woman like me like this. But his fiancée was also lucky. The old people clasped their hands and began to flatter. Rarely did the lady appreciate him. Do you need to visit to get acquainted? She laughed softly with interest. He said, according to the words of the old man, go king, but be surprised by this word of yours. Want to turn upside down? Two round eyes, that aesthetic, SAO. It's not like that. It's also hard to understand. Obviously, previously on the surface showed very little interest. Talking in the middle. He was beaten to the head. Sit, person. She ordered not to say much more. In front of a court of Yangs. Large is being laid sprawl. The voice of the urge echoed. Lift over here. Here, hold this precious treasure lightly. The school was a little surprised. I looked at the system panel and suddenly jumped out. The woman is interested in the owner. Air cargo 1,000. The value of heaven increased by 5,000. I think that's okay too. CA school hands up to grab chin. Looks excited to say. It seems that my compatriots have paid attention to me. I'm interested in SAO. I can only say that I have too much power. She must have been watching the battle. If I guess correctly, next. At this moment, a servant comes. The lack of owner. Transmission of the eternal royal family, incomparable to visit. Waiting outside Long Island. It's no different than the school expected. You aesthetics come quickly, eternal royal. You agree. Invite them to the office and wait for the subordinate to obey. The master said and left. CA school excitedly put tongue out, licked around, take your lips out. Just interested in me. That gave me so many points of destiny. Then you, aesthetic. Her airflow point. This is not a fat sheep. The servant now approached the royal family. Please come over here. The owner has prepared the tea. I looked at my lady. Disguised as a man. There's more prestige than an amazing beard. Ask the little boy. Why are you dressed like this to see him? She laughed for hours and replied, not even born. I was beautiful. I'm afraid he wants my beauty. You little girl don't understand. Being born too beautiful is also a kind of trouble. He laughed confidently at his intelligence. You often think the holy woman of electricity still can't reveal There's too much pride in this world, and it's boring. Don't give me 7 hopes. The man led the men to the entrance. Put your hand out. The owner is already up there waiting. I'm sorry to bother you. He watched the guard outside. Momentarily amazing. I think the guards here are the gods. The strength of the reinforcement is profound. I don't blame the school for being so scary. But we can use his power reasonably. This body must also exist. A kind of capability. Incomparable approach to the CA school, but respectfully greet your late brother. He stood in front of the water table and responded. You don't need to go out of the house. Sister Sai, you do not blame. Teeny quietly looked at the CA school. She is secretly fascinated by looking so handsome. And again, there's grapes. I just saw that he understood the moral law. Observe it somewhat more closely. She thought silently, this is not the villain's smile. But the flesh does not laugh in accordance with SAO standards. I just knew it wasn't a good thing. The school is showing a friendly face. He smiled at them and asked them to sit down. After they all sat down, CA raised her voice. I don't know. Suddenly, the king came to visit. Is there something wrong? Incomparable choice of words to answer. This is not about seeing you win. Easy to suppress the ancient elves' long clan. Unrivaled mental admiration, or SAO. That's why I wanted to come and learn from you. CA school hands up to reject the prince to praise. Many years back here, the dragon race rape one hand. Cover the sky across the overbearing museum. It is also now. Let's get it ourselves. I reached out my hand and said more about this. I'm just the one who's got a little bit of Christian interest. Heaven is the schemer behind it. They also saw the old man. There's no hesitation. I'm just the one on the outside. These words made the old king rock off. The king laughed and said, parents don't need to be humble. Young people, lake situation. Now, is there anyone who can rule the Black Eagle? The school gave him a cup of tea to drink. Your Majesty is so grateful. Not to mention reigning. Not. We are only based on the ancient reincarnation of God. They don't get help from them. Now the fairies are united. They and I have no contact. Of course AI is home. Suddenly, a hand holding the fan burst out. Deathcam took the fan looks calmly uttered. I can say these great hypocritical words. Not a good person, of course. Your father was threatened by this word. Spray water in mouth. I put my hand up to stop him. You can't say that in front of the school. I'm also paying attention to this guy right now. The king then laughed softly to introduce Theu 7 ceremony and tried to. This is my son-in-law. He's a very vague person with no evidence. I hope you don't blame me. CA school immediately exposed. It turned out to be the king's billions. He looked surprised. Is that the CA school laughed excitedly and said, Brother Wang, Lady Wang's temperament escapes. Both men and women can understand. Of course, the information is now clearly visible on the head. Their name is Prince Cam. Sex girl. You don't know, open your eyes in surprise. I don't worry, straight ahead. Such excellent detection ability. It's not an interesting triviality, of course. But even though he's more powerful, I can't predict my fate. Think of this, your eyes are closed. Suddenly, he picked up the tea, laughing loud and ready to shout. I heard you have a fairy tale. I thought it was bad news. But now to meet. Of course, the name is worthy of reality. CA also raised the glass and replied, it's all a bad name. You're a bad girl. Soon after, the dead man took it upon himself, making decisions, rare opportunities, related to the fate and development of the fairies. I want to try to talk to you a little. I don't know what you mean. I hear you say these words. 3 peerless tribal chiefs in tour suddenly looked at her. The school also approves. The girl kept talking. I wish I could hear anything high. The other 3 were surprised when I saw that you accepted her request. CA School smirked, thinking in my head, she probably doesn't know my background yet. Probably in the eyes of a traitor. The gods are stupid. I think we have to do a good job. I can't waste her interest in me. Dark thoughts start to creep through my head. Waiting for close contact. You'll understand how deadly it is to be interested in the villain. From early morning till evening, the moon rises. 3 people sat waiting for them to talk. Teeny, depressed, uttered. Not expected. A lady in the school can talk again. 2 people holding a cup of tea while drinking and burping. Death is now standing up. It's not too early. Try to act, but not politically. But very real compared to the mouth type. Always say justice is better. CA School clasped hands of thanksgiving, replied dare not accept. But now you know everything. You have to wash your hands and listen. I see you now understand that we met. I hate that it's late. Death doesn't laugh out loud. Try to talk to me like that. As we see, later you will have great success. The perfect Con Lu Hai. The school said it could not get to know her soon. It's a pity of life. Suddenly, the dead dropped their hands. Don't be afraid to say the Tir Fiank. The teacher looked at her with a blank face. The whole world is beautiful and beautiful. Escape from the appearance of a man with long hair flying in the wind. Soft voice. But I won't be late or try to get out. You and I are married. The 3 people sitting there drinking tea heard that. It's amazing. Sprinkle all the water in Ra's mouth and scream, Miss Billionaire. Death turned his back and left. She crossed her hands in front of her chest and raised her voice. You and I are both highly intelligent people. When we are married, it is the strongest union. She glanced at the old school CA. Smiling, said more. Until then, everything in the world. It won't be all or nothing. The school is silent. Listen to your persuasions. And then he laughed softly and said. She joked and didn't talk about it. My marriage was determined by my parents from a young age. Even if the model wants to agree. I'm afraid the power behind you isn't. The eyes of death are so sharp. You often think the power behind it is not the kingdom. Maybe in such a short time. He already knew my identity. Think then death is not skillful uttered. Parents don't have to worry too much about the power behind them. What we do, they can't stop us. Just trying to deny me that face to face. That makes people a little sad. CA School calmly took the teapot and poured water into the glass. But say the grace and power of death, no lady. This world is unique. But it's not enough in front of us. That's why I glanced at you. Expressionless face, thinking about it as a child. To win the great leader of my body. I am from the world. Back to finish, to show off the rare nothingness. Now, it shows the lineage of the ancient reborn god. The eye is also accurate. Poisonous tricks that have the courage to plot. This CA school is deeply unpredictable. The school is drinking tea. I think it's because I despised him. After thinking, there is nothing to stay. The Lord said so calmly. There's really no room for that. It's not too early today. You turn your back on everyone. To say goodbye. The lady doesn't bother you anymore. He also politely bowed to the apple. Death suddenly turned around. I glanced at the CA school and said, "That's right, brother. I think we'll see each other again." The system immediately appears. The prince's gaze changed the mood. Air Cargo 2000. Destiny points increased by 500. CA school is happy to laugh. Of course, we will definitely meet again. Standing on the high court. CA school mused intermarriage. Beautiful memories with the moon are not back. Slowly appeared in the school's mind. CA suddenly shouted out loud. Send someone to see Min recently. What does the princess do? Report to me. Details of her movements and actions. The servant obeyed his command. Yes, master. The school looked up at the sky. In the heart of the moon calculation, Min is not a biological person. I know a little bit about the future. In time to understand her direction. Maybe we can find a clue in the future. Prince Cam, if you are a descendant of the electric ancestor, now she's starting to run the world. It means that the ancestors of this world are about to come out. Your eyes closed slightly. His face looked cold. In the lines of thought. Fortunately, she's the one. Obviously not intended as a tool. Go find the ancestors. This point is beneficial to me, human race and the successor of magic. It was the living and dead enemy. The one who goes first. There is the trick of the successor to the magic trick. But at any cost, it has to be clean. CA school tightened hands. He broke the cup in his hand. It must be resolved before it rises. The next day at the castle. A subordinate kneeling behind her announced. Start pressing the seal. The space of the angels is defined. Now we have someone to choose. And then, at the right time, we're forming a second fifth team. Moon Ming didn't raise his hand very well. From above, looking out at the outside world. You often think in my memory of a past life. It's from the angel world that comes out. Want to save the school CA. Just die right away. Before that person returns to heaven. Fortunately, the distance from the interior to the angel world extremely remote. Electric power is not possible in a short time. Find a transitional ancestor. Moon Ming's eyes didn't contain much intention. During this time, we have to go back to the land to receive the gas. Convenient to train the spirit. The best for the best. Another thought. The test appears in your mind. If you help me in this life, I will. Transfer scene. In the room where the CA campus is. I'm sitting on a throne asking for my sins. I hear you want to break the slavery of your people. Out of my control. The Dark Ones were horrified and fell on their knees. Not dare to. NCA step by step heavy. Ask if you want to be a hero. The black man did not dare to raise his head. His face was soon filled with sweat. Answer me in a small voice. I'm wrong, master. Please don't. Give me a chance. I will jump into the sea of fire without hesitation. The school lied to him and said, don't worry. I did not send you EC. Because even though SA, you're also the one who chose them. Black Min is amazing. He looked up and panicked, replied to him. How do you know? He held up his hand and said, the king told me to tell you the city. All thoughts of things are possible. The person named by CA. Rebirth can be seen as eternal. Black Ming heard that and laughed happily and shouted loudly. It turns out that you are his follower. I said, you have such a familiar feeling on you. CA school suddenly put 3 fingers in front of him. They say, give you a mission. Within months, we found 30 people of exceptional ability. We're the faithful followers up to that point. God's people will see your feet. The black man was interested to hear that. I'm so excited to open my eyes. Then he knelt down and took orders. I know. Please rest assured. I will definitely complete the mission. Cal told me to value you more. Don't make him 7. That's it, he replied nervously. Even if the body is chopped up, Blackberry absolutely does not do it. The 7 hopes. CA school after achieving the purpose of manipulation. He laughed softly. Motivation to intimidate. Making SAO can be powerful by cult motivation. Even if you pretend, it's idolatrous power. CA school goes through the blacksmith that added. Remember the top. Only you are the most important. You must remember in your heart. I thought to myself, the great forest ancestors now. If the experiment goes well this time, then we can proceed to the second step of the plan. Black Ming slammed his head against the ground. I swear to God. I don't know, I won't be a 7-year-old. The owner reminded. The owner goes leisurely. As soon as you walk away, CA school is still thinking about the dream. For ordinary people, it's the inevitable danger. But for us, it's a huge creation. This charm, of course, we can't let others break it. Good thing. At the top of the roof, the snow covered the yard. After listening, he knelt down and told the school. The Lord of the Sea was seriously injured. Then the Neptune Palace announced the closure of the palace. 100,000 years without going to sea. I'm happy to say yes, yes, yes. In front of him appeared a large piece of paper. CA school read the contents of the letter. I thought of my mother's coming. Tell me to take the elves with me. This time is a good opportunity to contact the village behind the ferry, Ni. How much pain do you have to do? For a long time, it's finally a magical new beginning. He sat on the top of the mountain and read the letter. My uncle sent me a letter to come home later. She breathed out a breath and said, actually tried to punish CA. That day, I admitted that I was a man. I've planned it all. You tell me if it's true. It's lying on the ground for an hour. First, throw the letter in your hand. Not a little intentional. They despise us too much. She was determined to shout out, not to come back. If you like to go back, we are not going back. At this moment, a voice asked me where I was going. The fairy startled herself. Look at the school from behind. That screams the school CA. You are possessed by demons like that. It's a death threat, you know. You use your feet to fly. Fly in the sky and look big. Not coming back is not coming back. That year kicked me out. Now every letter tells me to go home without a door. Suddenly, her whole body is stuck in the air. Ka tried to lock her up in the air with chains. I am serious about the first child. Only you have the power. It's a waste of energy. I want to fight every day. You make me 7. Try to suspect, try to struggle and scream, try to punish CA. Unfairly despicable. If you are good enough, defeat the VI and fight me. He threw her on the ground next to him. If I wanted to be real, I would be dead by now. The enemy won't talk about what's fair to you. My father sent me a letter asking me to take you home. Sean Hai. I stood up and shouted at him not to go. That's your father, not my father. That year, it was him who sent me away. The school gave her a look. Then he untied her and closed her eyes to make it clear. I must have misunderstood. It is my command to take you home. I didn't tell you to come back with me. I had no choice. She replied, no matter what you say, I want to go back. He reached out his arms around her small waist. The little boy flushed his eyes wide open and thought to himself, this guy wants to take me home. Sorry, I only carry you on my shoulders. Fairy Ni exasperated, screaming CA school. You do something. Let me down. I calmly replied, "Don't worry, I'll tie you up and bring you back. It's not like I never carried it when I was a kid." Suddenly, her eyes widened and she was silent for a moment. Then slowly close your eyes and your voice booms. "Kaka, I can't walk anymore. I'm hungry and tired and sleepy. I remember when I was a kid, I held her on my back. And you're busy sleeping, and I'm upset. We're going to practice. What are you doing here when you have free time? Don't drool. It flows all over my clothes." Back to reality. The enraged fairy screamed. "You can't change another position," the school replied coldly. Then they both left. A loving call is heard. The man struggled out of the sand and shouted. Who stepped on Lao Tzu? At the ancient Thai royal family, 9 most heavenly lake. The door is closed. The bones on its back to the ground. All scratched hands up. Put it on your forehead. What is wrong with me? Let him clench his face and say my body. Terrified Bone Rope sat up screaming. Why did it turn out like this? Looking at a strange place in front of 1,000 questions leaping out. This is not clear. I'm still practicing in the Emperor's palace. That Sao suddenly appeared here. He looked at himself in the water and guessed. Maybe my soul in this sky happened. Swap Sao. If not, why don't we have any memories of him? Look at the ugly face in the water. He scratched angrily and said, I am the son of the Emperor. The future will dominate the world. I can't believe someone would move their hands. Now someone comes to ask. Give the ladies horse lunch. You can't miss the big thing. To participate in the mother-in-law's feast. I heard the name he just gave. He gritted his teeth. The world is waiting for me. It's a vision that opens up, and big buildings appear. Someone who's excited and laughing endlessly. Look at yourself now. I can't hide the joy and scream. No, I can't believe I'm the son of the Emperor. The most precious Thai royal family. Maybe it's God's will or something. His eyes were streamed with blood. Miss Eyelash. No, I am the son of the Emperor. Remember when he was picked up, he said. Since I was a child, I have been wandering around the market. No piece of rice. In this man-eater world, I am prepared for death. You are her. He gave me more hope to live. I remember the hand at the time. I am ready to catch his hand. Come back to the real world and hold your hand. He's become full of murder. Laughing full of words. That stupid tiger caterpillar. Not worthy of her. I'm the one who loves you the most, I told you. Sooner or later, you are my friend. When he finished, he laughed excitedly. At the school to reinforce the shout. King Song Dynasty of Wisdom. Eternal life royal military mind. So many people have gathered in the hall. From the sky flying down in front of the CA school. Greet the parents. We've met again. The rest of you also salute me. The school also politely greets. In return, you're welcome. I have to pay attention to the person next to you and ask. Dare to ask you. This guy is a CA school, and he doesn't hide it. This is my sister. Since we were poor, we couldn't buy clothes. The first child heard that. He was angry and tried to curse. You talk too much at school. Inside the same electricity, everyone was sitting in place. The moon doesn't look outside. Cool face, aesthetic. See, the goblin has no eyes. When I'm not there to have fun. And then look at Death Cam laughing with CA school. Lesbo pissed aesthetic, female fake male pages. I thought I didn't see the stars. That's ridiculous, old school CA. But now we've come. God is capable. Just look at one and you'll know it's a girl. The goddess of the Buddha. God knows you are stupid. Come closer and ask. Min is not looking at anything. You are embarrassed to answer. Miss Min is not looking at that CA school. She looked in the direction of Min's eyes without saying. Are you looking at that girl? Never heard of it before. The immortals have a pride like this. I can't believe that this age has a standard VI. You're surprised you didn't hear it. Open your eyes, she said. The holy scenes. She also noticed that her eyes were looking at her. She opened her eyes wide and laughed again. Aestheticians have paid attention to me. The mother laughed and asked. Maybe you're not jealous. She avoided her eyes and replied. No, I trust the school. She took her hand and said softly. Don't worry, go with the CA school now. It's very possible you'll only know the girl. And you're all the ones I raised. Previously, the CA school. Listen to here. Min was not surprised. She silently calculated drill now. Maybe the mother knows the reason. The mood of the school has changed. The grieving mother continued. It's been such a long time for you. Min did not gently console. This is the school's responsibility. I've been warning him before. He also misunderstood his good intentions. Suddenly, the mother's eyes widened. He glanced at those who were drinking. Then the mother kept her voice low. Min no longer knows all about SAO, something related to ghosts. Min did not interrupt, but replied. My mother, Min, doesn't make schools waste their energy. I understand the heart of the school now. He hugged her excitedly and shouted. The tiger is my good daughter-in-law. I feel so comforted. You have fun.